Imagine you are standing on the edge of a vast, silent ocean of nothingness, where the very fabric of the universe seems to have forgotten to exist. In a cosmos filled with hundreds of billions of galaxies, there is a place so empty that it defies our most basic understanding of cosmic structure. This is the Boötes Void, a spherical expanse of darkness so immense that it could swallow thousands of Milky Way-sized galaxies without leaving a single trace. If you were placed in its center, you would see nothing but pitch-black ink in every direction, as if the rest of the universe had simply vanished. For centuries, we looked at the stars and assumed the universe was a uniform tapestry, but modern science has revealed a much more unsettling reality. Our universe is not a solid block, it is a delicate, fragile web of light stretched over a terrifying amount of cold, lonely, and hollow space. This great nothing challenges our perspective on home, reminding us that we live in a rare, crowded corner of an otherwise desolate and empty house. To understand how such a massive hole exists in the middle of everything, we have to travel back to the very beginning of time itself. The story starts 13.8 billion years ago with the Big Bang, an explosion that wasn't just big, but was the literal birth of every atom in existence. In those first trillionths of a second, the universe was a hot, dense soup of particles vibrating with tiny quantum fluctuations like ripples in a pond. These tiny ripples were the seeds of everything we see today, from the smallest pebble on Earth to the largest superclusters of distant burning stars. As the universe expanded, gravity began its patient work, pulling the denser regions of gas and matter together into long, glowing, celestial threads called filaments. Imagine a sponge or a collection of soap bubbles in a sink. The soapy film represents the galaxies, while the air inside represents the vast voids. Over billions of years, the rich got richer and the poor got poorer, as gravity stripped matter away from empty spaces to build massive walls. Most voids in the universe are relatively small, spanning maybe 20 or 30 million light-years across, which is still a distance beyond human comprehension. But the Boötes Void is a monster, a supervoid stretching 330 million light-years wide, making it one of the largest known structures in the entire cosmos. When astronomers Robert Kirshner and his team first discovered this gap in 1981, they were shocked to find a region that should be full of life. Based on the density of the surrounding universe, there should be roughly 10,000 galaxies inside this space, yet we have found only a tiny handful. This discovery flipped our cosmic maps upside down, forcing us to ask why nature would leave such a massive, gaping wound in the sky. Is the Boötes Void just a natural outcome of gravity, or is it a clue to something much stranger happening in the dark corners of physics? To appreciate the isolation of the Boötes Void, we must first look at our own cosmic neighborhood, the Milky Way. Our galaxy is a bustling metropolis of stars, but even at light speed, it takes 100,000 years to cross its diameter. If you were to travel toward the void, the familiar constellations of the night sky would eventually begin to fade. Beyond our galaxy lies the local group, a small cluster of neighbors like Andromeda held together by the invisible hands of gravity. But as you push further into the abyss, the gaps between these islands of light grow wider and more terrifyingly silent. After millions of years of travel, you would reach the edge of the void, a boundary where the cosmic web simply stops. Looking forward, you would face a distance of 330 million light-years, where almost nothing exists to reflect or emit light. To put that in perspective, if the Milky Way were the size of a single pea, the void would be a massive stadium. Astronomer Greg Aldering once remarked that if the Milky Way had been in the center of the Boötes Void, we wouldn't have known other galaxies existed until the 1960s. We would have believed we were the only thing in the entire universe, drifting forever in an eternal, shoreless ocean of black. But the void isn't perfectly empty. It contains about 60 lonely galaxies scattered like dust motes in a cathedral. These galaxies are strange. They are often more pristine and isolated than those found in the crowded filaments of the web. Without the constant gravitational tugging of neighbors, these void galaxies evolve in total solitude, like forgotten relics of the early universe. Some scientists propose that the Boötes Void didn't start out as one giant hole, but as several smaller bubbles that merged. Imagine small soap bubbles on a surface slowly touching and snapping together to form one giant, unstable chamber of air. This merging process would have pushed the few remaining galaxies into the center, forming the thin, lonely chain we see today. Yet, even this explanation struggles to account for the sheer scale and mathematical perfection of such a massive circular vacancy. Our current models of the universe suggest that gravity alone might not have had enough time to clear out a space this big. This discrepancy leads researchers to peer deeper into the darkness, searching for forces we cannot yet see or fully measure. What if the nothingness of the void is actually filled with something else, something that actively pushes the light away? To solve the riddle of the Boötes Void, we must look at the invisible ghost that haunts our universe: dark matter. Although we cannot see it, dark matter acts as the cosmic glue, providing the extra gravity needed to hold galaxies together. In the early universe, dark matter clumped together first, creating the valleys that normal matter would eventually flow into. But in the regions that became voids, dark matter was spread too thin, leaving these areas as cosmic no-man's lands. However, dark matter alone might not be enough to explain why the Boötes Void is so perfectly and aggressively empty. Enter dark energy, the mysterious force that is causing the expansion of the universe to accelerate every single second. Think of dark energy as a sort of cosmic repulsion that stretches the space between galaxy clusters, making voids grow larger. In a sense, the Boötes Void is a localized victory for dark energy, a place where expansion has outpaced the grip of gravity. But there is an even more mind-bending theory. What if the void is actually full, but of things we cannot detect? Some researchers suggest the existence of dark galaxies, massive clouds of dark matter that never manage to ignite into stars. These invisible ghosts would have the mass of a galaxy but remain completely dark, hiding in plain sight within the abyss. If this is true, the Boötes Void isn't a hole at all, but a crowded room where everyone is wearing an invisibility cloak. Another radical idea involves the Kardashev scale, a method of measuring a civilization's level of technological advancement and energy consumption. A Type 3 civilization could theoretically harness the energy of an entire galaxy, perhaps even dimming it in the process. While it sounds like science fiction, some have wondered if the void is the result of a massive, ancient engineering project. Could a super-advanced species have enclosed their galaxies in Dyson spheres, rendering them invisible to our telescopes and sensors? Most scientists remain skeptical of the alien explanation, noting that the laws of thermodynamics would still leave detectable heat signatures. Instead, they look toward the more grounded, yet equally strange, possibility of large-scale structure fluctuations in the cosmic microwave background. These are the faint echoes of the Big Bang, showing that some parts of the infant universe were simply born with less stuff. Whether it is aliens, dark matter, or a cosmic accident, the Boötes Void remains a profound challenge to our understanding of physics. If we were to venture deep into this desert of the sky, what would the experience actually feel like for a human? Beyond the practical dangers of radiation and vacuum, the greatest threat in the Boötes Void is the psychological weight of isolation. Humans evolved to perceive depth and distance by looking at objects. But in the void, your eyes have nothing to focus on. It is a sensory deprivation tank on a galactic scale, where the silence is so absolute it starts to ring in your ears. Floating in the center, the nearest sun would be so far away that its light would be indistinguishable from the background hum. You would be suspended in a temperature of 3 degrees Kelvin, just a fraction above absolute zero, the coldest state possible. Without the gravity of a nearby planet or star, you would experience a permanent, disorienting state of freefall through the dark. Every direction would look identical, a perfect, unyielding black that swallows the beam of even the most powerful searchlight. This environment forces us to confront the great filter, the idea that life might be incredibly rare and incredibly fragile. In the crowded filaments of the cosmic web, life has neighbors and resources. In the void, life is a flickering candle in a hurricane. Yet, the few galaxies we have found inside the void tell a story of remarkable resilience and surprising cosmic purity. Because these galaxies are so far apart, they rarely collide or tear each other apart like galaxies in the dense Virgo supercluster. They are time capsules, preserving the original chemical composition of the early universe without the pollution of nearby galactic mergers. Astronomers use these lonely islands to study how stars form in the most extreme, low-density environments we can find. By observing these underdogs of the universe, we learn that gravity's laws work the same even when the stage is nearly empty. But the existence of these 60 galaxies only deepens the mystery. Why are there only 60 and not 10,000? Every new piece of data from our most advanced satellites seems to confirm that the void is growing, not shrinking. This means that over trillions of years, the cosmic web will continue to fray and snap as the voids take over. Eventually, the universe may become a collection of isolated islands, drifting so far apart that they lose sight of one another forever. The Boötes Void is not just a hole in space, it is a preview of the inevitable future of our entire universe. As we stare into the Boötes Void, we aren't just looking at an empty space, we are looking at the ultimate mystery of nature. It reminds us that our human intuition is poorly equipped to handle the true scales of the universe we inhabit. We crave patterns, connections, and light. But the cosmos is mostly composed of silence, gaps, and an absence of matter. Does the void exist because of a cosmic error, or is it a necessary part of a grander design we can't yet perceive? Perhaps the voids are the true default state of the universe, and we are merely the strange, energetic exceptions to the rule. Scientific research into these regions is still in its infancy, with new telescopes like the James Webb pushing the boundaries. Every time we point our sensors at the nothing, we find that it has a story to tell about how everything began. The Boötes Void humbles us, stripping away our cosmic arrogance and leaving us with only questions and wonder. It is a mirror reflecting our own curiosity, a place so vast and dark that it forces us to provide our own light. We may never set foot in the center of the great nothing, but we carry its mysteries with us in every calculation. If there are civilizations hidden in those 60 lonely galaxies, they are looking out at a very different universe than ours. To them, the sky is a wall of black, making the discovery of a single distant star a miracle beyond imagination. This thought makes our own crowded, star-filled sky feel like a precious, fleeting gift that we often take for granted. We are the children of the filaments, born in the bright, busy intersections of a cosmic web that is slowly unraveling. As the voids grow and the galaxies drift, the story of life becomes a race against the encroaching darkness of deep time. But for now, the Boötes Void remains out there, a silent sentinel in the northern sky between Arcturus and the Big Dipper. It is a reminder that the most profound things in the universe are often the things that we cannot see at all. So the next time you look up at the night sky, don't just look for the stars, look for the gaps between them. In those gaps lies the secret of where we came from and perhaps a glimpse of where we are ultimately going. The universe is big and it is empty, but as long as we keep asking why, the darkness will never be truly absolute.